You saw it
Couldn't
last
believe his
week.
eyes.
You're like, what the
Yeah.
fuck? Like, I've never seen so much sales online, like ever.
I'm not here to be nice, I'm here to be straightforward. Most people are delusional. They think they're in the scaling phase when they're still in the testing phase.
That winning product will also fade, that winning ad will also get fatigued, and you're left with nothing at the end.
We've worked with a lot of these people. They have this one creative that's working. Suddenly they just don't deliver anything anymore. And we're like, hey, listen, you know, ad fatigue is a real thing.
We see this all the time, like, oh, but H&M is doing this. Oh, Zara is doing this. I'm like, dude, you're not Zara. You don't have that name behind you.
If you gave me $100,000 right now, I could double it for you next year. I would say, that's amazing. But after advertising, you know, month 1, month 2, 5K, getting no sales, getting no good results, losing money. After 2 or 3 months, you would be like, oh no, I give up.
Yeah. Thinking like, oh, if I go only viral with one video, then everything else will be solved. You know? But you can see that as well. Like you can see some pages or accounts that have one post that got 3 million views, and then you go to their account, they have like 2,000 followers.
Welcome everybody to the very first episode of the Renewed Clever podcast. So, instead of us trying to guess what you guys really want to hear, we've decided to interview about 40 of our own clients, social media followers, email subscribers, and even our employees to ask them what type of burning questions they had on their mind in regards to marketing and selling online. And the response we got was insane. We got over 200 questions, and I had a colleague of mine actually sit down and for 2 days straight pick out the best 19 ones that I'm going to ask today. So, Togar, some people also added a lot of context surrounding their business situation with the questions. So I added them down below the questions so you can kind of decide whether it's worth mentioning as well or not.
Okay, sure.
So Togar, first question. What is one thing about e-commerce that most people get wrong these days?
Most people, I think a lot of them, they see traffic as the solution to everything. Like, oh, if I just had more traffic to my store, I could get more sales. But they forget that it's much more than that. They look at the whole journey as an A to B thing, like, oh, run ads, get traffic, and that's it. But it's more of an A to Z thing. So customer journey, site speed, the type of ad, the type of offer you propose to the in your product pages, and so on and so on. So there's much more to that than just traffic. So I think the most things that people like not see is the whole customer journey entirely on their Shopify stores or whatever website they're selling their stuff.
So you would say like because traffic is not cheap these days. You know, it gets only more expensive. You know, so people saying like I need traffic is a very expensive word to say when we hear it, of course. Yeah. So yeah, you know, let's say, for instance, you know, you have a good customer funnel, everything from A to Z is optimized good. You know, at the end of the day, not everything works. You know, if it was that easy, then I mean, everybody would be a millionaire. You know, so at the end of the day, you have to decide when to pull a plug on a certain project or product. So my question to you is, how do you decide when to pull a plug on a certain product that just isn't selling?
Yeah, I think most importantly is not to be emotionally attached to your product. And for us as an agency, it's much easier to do that than for the customer or the client in this case, because they could have spent so much time in creating the product or sourcing the product and whatever, and they got so emotionally attached and they want it to work, and sometimes there's just no market fit. And when we run ads and we can see through the data, like, all right, we don't even get traffic, so the product is not even interesting enough. The offer that we're trying to test isn't even working, or the conversions are, you know, staying away. That's a moment you have to really look into your mirror, I guess, and ask yourself, like, am I not in the wrong vehicle here? Is this not the wrong product that I've chosen? And maybe you should reconsider the product that you're trying to test or trying to sell at that stage. But don't get me wrong, don't pull the plug too soon. You have to test different offers with the product, different creatives, different hooks, just to see if it works. But at a certain point, you have to kind of accept the data that the ads manager shows you, and just pull the plug when it's needed.
So when doing this, when testing this product, you know, everything you're talking about, what do you think is more important? Is it like really building a brand, or just making sales? What hits harder basically, and what's more conclusive to you essentially, or more important, I would say?
Well, I think both are important, right? Like you need to initially get quick sales, because that gives you like the proof of concept for your product. Once you get those sales, that's when you start thinking of long-term sustainable growth. And that's when you can introduce other products to your store, to upsell them, to cross-sell them, and so on and so on. there's one client that we particularly now have. They have a great product, just one product. That's the problem. There's one product. We get sales for that product, but we can't actually profitably scale them sustainable because there's only one product. So there's no returning customers. We have nothing to upsell or cross-sell them with. There's no funnel we can create in terms of email marketing that we can nurture these people for other products and so on and so on. So at a certain point, once you get the proof of concept, like, hey, this product works, that's when you really have to consider sustainable growth. And sustainable growth really means like offering a full package of products that resonates with the clients that you or customers that you're trying to sell to.
Yeah, because the first product that you sell, like I always say that the first time a customer buys is going to be the most expensive customer, and the second and third time is going to get more cheap and more cheap and more cheap. You know, especially somebody that bought for the 12th time. Like some of these people don't even need to see an ad of you anymore; they just look you up organically, and that's like you pay $0 for that essentially. Yeah. So, all right.
Just to hammer in on that as well, like as well, like we have clients that the first initial purchase is not even profitable. It's break even and sometimes making a slight loss on it because, as you said, first customer, most expensive customer, the cost per acquisition, very high. But if you have a bunch of products on the back end, bunch of offers in the back end that you can sell to that same customer, that's when the real money is being made, basically.
So do you think that most people then actually underestimate the CLTV? So guys, that's the customer lifetime value of 3, 6, or 12 months, because I get this often in calls. I'm like, hey, so what's your CLTV like? They're like, what? Like I'm talking an alien language, So what would you say about that?
It's very important to know your customer lifetime value. And the problem is if you're starting out, you just have no idea because you're looking for your first client, But if you are a brand that's looking to scale and you've been in business for, let's say, 2 years or so, and now you're taking the big step to spend a lot of ad spend on ads, that's when you have to look at your customer lifetime value. Because if you know, like, all right, if I'm going to scale my ads, my cost per acquisition is going to probably rise. Like, how much can I allow it to rise? The only way to answer that is to know your customer lifetime value. If you know each customer is worth $500 to you, but your initial purchase is, let's say, $100, and your cost per acquisition is like also $100, that means you're making a loss, right? Because you make no sales, you also have to pay the cost of goods, shipping, and so on and so on. But if you know your customer lifetime value is $500 in 2 years' time, then you're actually making $400 profit on that initial sale, which supposedly was a loss in the end, in the beginning, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does make sense. So would you say then that like this is the reason why these big brands, like they can grow like this and they can get away with it, and a lot of the small people that are just starting out, they're having like the most difficult time getting off the ground? Would you say that this is like an attribute to that?
For sure, man, for sure. Like these bigger brands, they can, take a hit. They can take a hit because, first of all, they have created this crazy, following that already purchased from them. So they have this like safety net already there. So with that safety net, they kind of invest, or that cash flow they use to acquire new customers, but they know the new customers are not profitable from day one, but over their lifetime it grows. Look at McDonald's, look at Coca-Cola. They're McDonald's targeting the kids grow up and then they take their kids again to McDonald's, and Coca-Cola the same thing, like, how much is a bottle of Coke? Like $2, right? Like running a huge ad for a $2 bottle makes no sense, but they know you're gonna buy and buy and buy that bottle over and over again.
Yeah, it's like with VPNs and stuff like that. It's crazy.
Same thing. VPNs, they do the same thing. Softwares do that as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's actually one famous quote I want to tell you guys regarding this, and that is that an informed minority will always win from an uninformed majority. And that's what's happening with a lot of these. Would you say that that's what's happening with a lot of these big brands?
Well, what do you mean by that?
Well, because these big brands, they have the knowledge of like, hey, I can take a hit for, let's say, $50 CPA here.
Yeah.
And I can just take these hits because I know that the second month I have that earned back with profit on top of it.
Yeah.
So because they have this information, they're kind of playing this long game. Whereas to the uninformed majority, the majority of people are focusing on that first sale, trying to run ads. They're like, oh, this is not profitable. They cut it.
Yeah.
And that's how the big brands keep growing and growing and growing. And that's why there's no real competition for them. Because I always say is that you have two types of competition. You have the fake competition, the people that are wannabe entrepreneurs. They roll some ads. They have made a store, but I sometimes I look at them, I'm like, you're no way competition for me, you know.
You're gonna be swallowed by the whales, basically.
Exactly, and then you have the real big players when you're like, shit, this person actually got a big store. He's seriously advertising. He knows what's up. His website's fully optimized. He knows about all these little details, that needs to be on there. And that's when I think, as a big brand, you should think like, okay, we need to take this guy serious. Thanks for clearing that up. So,
just before we continue, right? We're talking about e-commerce here, but this applies for everything. Like every service, especially the people that offer services. That could be I don't know, agencies, content creators.
Look at brick and mortar stores, for example. The first time a customer comes in, like you're basically kissing their feet because you're hoping that they're gonna build this relationship with you and that they're gonna become this loyal customer. And the thing that I hate so much is because this is why I love talking to brick and mortar store owners, because they understand. It's like, you understand that first experience of the customer is the most important, and you can take a little hit in that by giving him something for free, giving him an extra, I don't know if you have a salon, an extra massage or extra product, be like, hey, this is a gift from us, because they understand if this guy comes back, I earn that back 2, 3, 4 times maybe.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's really good that you say so, because I've seen the same thing. People with actual businesses, brick and mortar businesses, like you said, salons, whatever, stores, cafes, restaurants, they understand the importance of that customer journey and the initial, I would say, interaction with you. It's just these online entrepreneurs, they have no idea. They're very short-sighted. They're like, all right, I just need to get a sale, and I don't care how to get it, and the customer support is shit, the landing pages are shit, the ads are like shit. Like they didn't think anything through. And also, if the cost per acquisition is like break even, they're like, this is now worth continuing because I'm break even. You know what I mean? Like, while a brick and mortar store like thinks much more in long term, like, all right, I'm break even on this first purchase, but what if I cross sell them or upsell them with a different service or product, whatever, you know what I mean? And especially in the agency world, I mean, we're in the agency world ourselves. We don't make any money on the first on the client with the first month or the second month. Sometimes the second month we're a little bit profitable, or sometimes we're break even.
Yeah.
Like the third month, that's when an agency or us basically starts growing, because we spend a lot of money on ads as well to acquire these.
Every agency, man.
Every agency.
Everybody.
And that's why also you see a lot of agencies come up, but they also disappear after a month or two, because first of all, their service is not good enough, so they can't maintain that customer long enough to become profitable with that customer. Yeah. So therefore, you set yourself up for failure from day one.
I always say that it's you need to have good marketing to make your first sale, and you need to have a great product or service to make that second, third, and fourth sale off of the same person, of course. For sure. And I think, like, sometimes I have people, they're like, I have the best product ever, and the quality is really good. And I'm like, that's all fun and games. That's good for making the customer return. But what are you gonna do to initially attract? And then I look at their videos and look at their photos. I'm like, there's no way you're doing your product any justice. You have this amazing product, but you're marketing it like it's some cheap stuff from AliExpress. So in terms of marketing your stuff, talking about getting that first purchase in, because people just don't trust you. Very simple. Like especially when you're a new starting brand, even when you're like a normal brand, still people don't really 100% trust you. So what do you think about using influencer marketing to gain this trust? Do you think that influencer marketing is still effective, or that it's saturated? Because it's been around for a long time right now. So kind of just curious to hear your opinion on that.
Well, there's a debate going on. Like, some people think like influencer marketing UGCs is completely dead, and others think like, this is the only way to go forward. And I think it's not. Personally, I don't believe it's dead at all. But what I do believe is that finding these big content creators is a bit overrated for me. For me, you don't have to go with big content creators. As well, we run ads. What we want as an agency, or to grow a store, is we want as much as content as possible. Yeah. So if you ask me like, hey, do you want content with this big influencer, or do you want 20 small contents with this smaller influencers? Micro influencers with different hairstyles, genders, demographic, ethnicity, and so on and so on. Personally, I would choose the other 20, especially if we're starting out with a brand, because that gives us way more content to test with and to see what resonates with the right audiences and so on and so on. Yeah. And also what people kind of don't see in this influencer marketing. They think it's like, oh, it's just a one-time thing. You work with an influencer, right?
Yeah.
But the fact is, it's much better to have partnerships with these influencers. Because think of it this way. I mean, you follow influencers probably yourself. So if you see this guy or this girl, let's say skincare product, right? You see this girl promoting a different skincare product each day of the week, like different brand, different thing, different that. You're not gonna take that content creator serious, right? Because you're like, this girl's promoting something again, you know, like it's the sixth lipstick that she's promoting from a different brand. But if you have a long-term partnership with this girl and she continuously uses your lipstick, you start thinking like, all right, this must be a good lipstick because this girl has been using it for 6 months and every week she's mentioning that same lipstick again. Yeah. So that's when quality influencer marketing becomes much more better because you have this long-term partnership with it and the followers of that influencer also take her more serious.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of these creators that are popping up, they kind of ruin their own reputation by accepting all these products to do UGC videos for.
Yeah. The authenticity just goes down.
It goes down, yeah. You don't trust it, bro.
Especially in a world where right now authenticity is at its highest value. Yeah. I think you should just leverage that at this point, you know, because I have the same thing, you know, like if there's one guy who's been partnered with someone for a year, like, okay, after the first month or two, I might not be interested, but if I see he's working with them 3-4 months, I'm like, okay, let me see what this is about. You know?
Right.
Like, it actually gets me in the door. So that's quite interesting that you say that. But you said that the most important thing would be, like, if you're running ads, would be to go for quantity in the beginning. Yeah. And then as you grow, kind of move up towards the more quality kind of stuff, you know, because we've worked with similar brands. Yeah. Start off with micro, go to and try to pivot into macro, basically.
Yeah. I mean, you know, as you begin, your cash flow is a bit tight, you know. So let's say you have 5K to spend on UGC content, right? Yeah. Would you spend that 5K on one content that is like a 50-50 chance to fail? Yeah. Or you put that 5K into 20 different contents
that are all 20%, 15% chance.
And one of them could pop off, basically.
Yeah. Just spread your eggs, basically.
Yeah, spread your eggs, spread your risks. And sure, you might get some initial sales from that bigger content creator, but you can't scale that. If the video sucks, it sucks. Like you get some initial sales from their organic followers, but if one of those 20 videos that you're getting from these micro influencers actually works, you can scale that to the moon, and you know as well how fast things go from there.
Yeah, it's just you just need one good ad, basically. So talking about ads right now, do you think in this current world, because I hear this like this is a question. Actually, the guy who set these questions up, he said that he got this one, I think 5 or 6 times in the 200 one, so that's why he put it in as well. And the question is, like, are we too dependent on social media advertising, like Facebook ads, Google ads, TikTok ads? Like, are we too dependent on it for our growth, basically? Or are there also, like, other things?
No, I absolutely, man. Yeah. We're so freaking dependent on these platforms, and most companies that sell anything online, they are very dependent on it. Like, we've had times that an ad account got blocked for whatever reason. It took us a week or two to recover, and those 2 weeks
I know what you're talking about.
The sales just dropped, like from here to there, and like that makes you realize how dependent you are on these platforms. Yeah. And sometimes we had this with Google as well. Like suddenly the merchant center gets banned for whatever stupid reason. And to fix that, it takes a week, but you can see how much damage that does to a store or online business, to get that ad up and running again. So yeah, we're highly dependent on it. So, my suggestion is always try to also have your own party data, like first party data, like these are all third party data. Email list, subscribers, newsletters, like Instagram has this broadcasting you can join, WhatsApp has that. Yeah. Whatever thing you can do to get people in your first party data center, it's way safer, because then you can at least send an email out and try to get to recover from there, basically. So yeah, we're highly dependent on it.
Yeah, okay. So that's like in terms of like running a successful Shopify store, you need to be like on all ends, not just the Facebook marketing or the social media marketing, but you also need to have like a backup plan, like, hey, what if I decided to turn my ads off tomorrow? Would I still be able to have a business, basically, successfully?
I mean, preferably, yes. You want to have as many multi-channel options as possible. In the
But
beginning, it's very hard because, again, cash flow problems. But at a certain point, as you grow and you're left with this cash flow, you don't know what to do with it. My suggestion is try, testing new platforms, seeing how you can gain first-party data. It could be also ambassadors, like look for ambassadors.
Yeah.
We have one client that's getting a lot of sales from organic ambassadors, which, even if we shut down the Facebook ads, sure, we see a decline in sales, but it's not the worst day of his life,
Yeah.
So yeah.
You could, yeah. So, what's actually like the biggest myth about running a successful Shopify store? Because you're a lot of like you hear something like, oh, you should try this, or oh, you should try that, or this is the secret, or that's the secret. Like, what's like the biggest myth that you heard online? That, because we know, of course, like we are actually sitting behind the curtain. So, yeah, what is one thing that you saw? You're just like, nah.
I mean, one of the biggest myths that I see or hear is that, I just need to have a winning ad or just a winning product. And it is a myth because we've had winning products, winning ads before. And if everything in the back end, like what I mentioned before, the whole customer journey is not set up completely, that winning product will also fade, that winning ad will also get fatigued, and you're left with nothing in the end. So it's not just the quick sales. I would say the biggest myth is that people think, I can make quick sales by just finding one thing that works.
Yeah.
But it's a much more sustainable, I would say, mindset that's needed for something to actually work long term.
Yeah, it's like e-commerce is like it's a machine, And if you just think like, oh, if I just get this one part working, then the whole machine's gonna work. It's like, no, there's no way. You gotta have all the different parts not only work but also intertwine with each other, so the whole machine starts kind of running. And of course, like once this machine starts running, it's very hard to make it something very terrible has to happen in order to make it stop. So
yeah, well, I think it comes also from this dropshipper mindset of winning product,
get in, get out, Like
yeah,
it's this one thing.
Like you see these dropshippers also like 1 month they're euphorious and the next month they're depressed because their products stop working and they're back into looking for 1 month they're driving the Lambo in Dubai and the next month you don't see anything on social media because they're like, oh fuck, I'm back to the drawing board, and you find the whole thing again, and it's not sustainable, man. But yeah, it is.
I mean, I think it could be sustainable if you decide to be like, hey, how am I gonna step this up a notch? Like there are so many brands. Like if you look at High Smile, Manscaped, even there was even I don't know if True Classic was one of them, but I know Francis and Blanchett was one of them. These people all started dropshipping, but instead of being up in their high mountain and thinking they're the king, they're like, oh damn, how can I make this little spark go into like a campfire that's gonna burn all night basically? And they decided like, hey, let me get this great idea. Let me get this proof, because I don't want to shit on dropshippers at all, because I've also done it. You've also done it before. Let me get this proof of concept. Let me get this data. Let me get this thing that's real and that nobody can take away from me. Let me build on top of this. Sure. Because if I could sell a shitty product to a lot of people, what happens if I could sell a great product? What happens if I source it? What happens if I build a brand around it? Because the most question that I also got asked. Actually, it's in honorable mentions. It didn't make the cut, unfortunately, but I'm gonna say it right now because it sparks the topic. Is how do I find this winning product? What should I do when I'm making sales? How do I, like, what is a winning product?
What's the next step?
Yeah, what's the next step basically?
You make sales with a dropshipping product. What's the next step?
Yeah.
And most people, the next step is they don't choose the sustainable path.
No.
They're like, just scale it.
Yeah.
And as you said, the next step would be, how can I improve this whole machine? How can I make my customer service better? How can I make my packaging experience better? Exactly. How can I make my shipping faster? How can I make my product quality better? And if you keep doing that, that's when you start becoming a sustainable brand. How can I add, additional products to that one product that I'm selling? Let's say the Manscaped thing. How can I add like a bag, a gift set, perfume set with it, like, you know what I mean? Like how can I add on top of this thing that sparked?
Yeah, but I think you're forgetting the most important part is better content. because usually what happens, because we've worked with a lot of these people, they have this one creative that's working, and it's working, and then like suddenly they just don't deliver anything anymore.
Yeah.
And we're like, hey, listen, ad fatigue is a real
Ad
thing.
fatigue is a real thing.
Ad fatigue is a real thing, and they kind of forget about it, and then the ad runs out, and they're like, guys, what happened with the ads? I thought we were doing good, and we're like, hey, listen, we're not wizards over here. We tried to warn you about this. You need to keep coming. Just because you won once doesn't mean you got to stop playing.
So it's funny because once this is what we see all the time in the agency. Once we find that winning product and we scale it, the customer gets very happy, and we actually become a little bit stressed. We're like, oh shit, like now we have something that works. What if it doesn't work anymore?
Yeah.
So we usually tell the client like, hey, start making more content like this. And like, why? It's working fine. Yeah, I know, but
capitalize on
we are
this.
like 2 months ahead. You're like, all right, if this thing runs out, like 80% of the sales will stop, whatever. Like, so we tell the client like, make more content, and then usually when the sales are good, they neglect that content thing. They're like, it's fine, profit margins are good. But then once that ad fatigue hits them, then they start running around like a chicken without a head. Like, I need to make content. But if you have something that works, always keep making more content in the back end, because once that thing doesn't work anymore, at least you have plan B, plan C in place.
I think that's also like one of the other advantages of working with an agency with a track record, of course, is because they have already seen the whole picture. They've seen the whole movie, and especially if you're a starting entrepreneur and you haven't had like multiple businesses already and you haven't seen the whole movie, like you're just in this room with the lights like not turned on. You have this little light, basically like this candle on you. Having somebody that just can flicker the light on and show you the whole room can be so insightful, especially for situations like these, because like we see them coming a mile away and the customer is 2 months late and he's like, oh, what happened, So what?
I mean, a good side to
No.
something popped up. We have this client, him as well. He sells these heaters, right? The infrared heaters.
Yeah.
Now, he got with us when? June, May or something? July? Peak summer. Like it was very hard. Yeah,
June.
so this guy sells heaters.
Yeah.
It's freaking summer, and he has a brick and mortar store.
He's
very
actually
established.
He's a B2B factory, actually.
He has what?
He has a B2B factory.
Oh, really? Okay,
Yeah,
I thought he has I thought he has a brick and mortar store.
So the thing is he is a business-to-business factory, and he sells to resellers. And he's like, he was like, these resellers, they keep coming back to me. They keep placing bigger orders. They're like, what if I just cut the middleman out and just go straight to the consumer? But he had no idea, of course. He's never done e-commerce at all, and he was just going in blind. But yeah, June, July, selling heaters, it was like the worst month to basically.
But we already knew.
Yeah,
like we already knew.
And
we told them like, hey man, like we're going into July, it's peak summer, nobody wants a freaking heater right now.
Yeah.
But if you stick with us, everything's gonna be fine.
I promise you the ride is gonna be
after summer there's always winter, And right now we're making record months right now. This guy is like you saw it.
Couldn't believe his eyes.
You're like, what the fuck? Like I've never seen so much sales online like ever. But yeah, so that's what can happen. But the thing is, like, if I'm trying to say, like, if you start a product and you sell, let's say, in summer, but your product is not like a summer product, it's actually a winter product, and you test it, let's say, for 2 months and you give up, you just,
if he gave up in August,
you don't understand that whole journey. Like, hey, you have a product, it's seasonal, so you have to understand when to scale and when to go down a bit,
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what you was referring to, I think, with the whole picture. We have seen it all, man.
So with scaling, what do you see is because we're talking about scaling right now. What are some other struggles that you're seeing surrounding e-commerce businesses, like when they get to this opportunity? Because the one thing I see most, or I got like most that we saw most from our social media followers, is like, hey, I'm trying to scale this product, but whenever I try to put more budget into it, like it doesn't work, And I see a lot of ads of people, they say that they have a magic way to scale these things, but as you know, it's all propaganda at the end of the day, and it's all that shiny object syndrome trying to catch your attention. But just giving me like a very transparent, real way, what are like the main issues that you have seen across all of our clients when trying to scale, basically?
Well, I mean, scaling is tough, man. And, what gets you from 0 to 10K doesn't necessarily get you from 10K to 100K. And doesn't get you from 100K to a million, for example. So there's a lot of, I would say, things that get involved as you scale, operational wise, of course. I mean, we have scaled clients from whatever. And what we see is that if they don't have their, let's say, inventory management in place, you run out of products, it's not scalable anymore. Or if your customer service cannot handle the inquiries, if you have, let's say, a complex product that also requires some explanation or some help with installment and so on and so on, you can ruin your reputation, you can ruin your whole brand. So scaling is not just increasing the ad spend, but it's also making sure in the back end you have everything in place. We have this one client, like he couldn't scale simply because he didn't have the cash flow for it. He knew he would be able to scale if the cash flow was there. I don't know how he did it. He spoke to a Meta rep and he got a 40K budget in terms of payment. So he can pay 30 days later the 40K that he owns Meta. So he can spend 40K and then pay. It's like a credit card basically. He already has an Amex. That's where he places the order. And the ad spend is basically on Meta up until 40K, and that's when you start paying.
It's like a Meta credit card.
It's a Meta credit card, yeah. It's called the credit. So that solved the whole issue. Like we have also clients like that want to scale, they're just waiting for that money to come in so they can start buying again. Like it's just, you're always limited by something. It could be operational, it could be cash flow. Your job is to kind of figure that out completely, and then that's when you can scale, I would say, healthy, sustainable.
And what I also think is that and I'm gonna be real with everybody here, I'm not here to spare. Everybody that's been on a call with me or has talked with me, is I'm not here to be nice, I'm here to be straightforward. Most people are delusional and they think they're in the scaling phase when they're still in the testing phase. Like the most thing I tell you so often is like, these people think that they can test and scale at the same time. It's like, so you're testing your creatives, you're still trying to find your winning product, your hero products and your hero creatives, but yet you're having a conversation with me about how we can scale this. I'm like, there is nothing to scale yet. You have different types of phases. So that's like a personal thing that I experience a lot with these entrepreneurs. But yeah, from what I'm hearing from you, basically, is that you're saying that every business is different, and to scale each business different, you have to really understand what some of the issues are, the barriers are, and those are usually also on an individual level, because all the businesses we're talking about, one is inventory, one is customer service, the one is cash flow, the one is just not there yet, we're still in the testing phase. So
one is producing it in Europe, so it gets delivered in 5 days if he makes an order. Exactly. One is coming from China. We have one that comes from India, it takes 2.5 months. You imagine you ordering something 2.5 months later, it comes to the harbor of, let's say, the Netherlands or wherever you are located, and then that takes another 2 weeks before it gets to the distribution. Like you're 3 months further ahead. So how can you anticipate 3 months? Like you have to find a way to like decrease that lead time of getting your products there. So each one struggles with their own kind of limitations. And 100% agree. Scaling is this word that everybody uses, but shouldn't be using. Like first, there's a testing phase, and then there's a scaling phase. Like you don't do both at the same time usually. And usually the testing phase is quite expensive. To find that, whatever you said, like the hero products, creatives, and hooks and offers you have to have. Once you have that, that's when you scale. But at that time, you're already making good money, basically.
It's just the same thing what we discussed earlier. It's about taking the hit. Testing is taking the hit, and scaling is being on this beautiful cloud, basically. That's why you make up for taking the hit. Because if I told you, hey, if you gave me $100,000 or 100,000 euros right now, I could double it for you next year, I would say, that's amazing. But after advertising, month 1, month 2, 5K, getting no sales, getting no good results, losing money. After 2 or 3 months, you would be like, oh, no, I give up. Like that whole mindset, like makes no sense to me, and that's... Because most people think that advertising is a short-term strategy. Because, it is, the way it works. You put money in, you get money out, but that's not really the way.
Again, man, it's this internet money mindset. It's like, I'm going to set something up with no budget, and it's going to work from day one. It's the internet money mindset. The brick and mortar mindset is way different. They were always long-term view. They knew like, first month I would be happy if I get a few customers. But as I grow, my children will have a store that has enough customers because I build it in the city or something like that. Definitely that,
All right. So, yeah, going more into, of course, ad spend. So how important do you think it is to diversify your ad spend beyond Facebook, Google, TikTok, Pinterest, whatever platform you're kind of using? Like, would you say be more focused into one platform and just delve into that, or would you say, leverage this omni-channel strategy that's been out there, like, I don't know, since the day I was, like, way before I was born?
Yeah, sure. I think both, man. It depends again on which stage of the business you are. Initially, you want to make as much as money as possible with the least amount of cost. So finding that one platform that can get you there, that's completely fine. So starting, let's say, with Meta, because you have the videos for it and everything, and you want to start there, that's completely fine. But once you have that cash flow, again, try to expand as much multi-channel as you can, because we just said it, how, dependent you are sometimes on a platform. And if that platform is, let's say, 100% of your traffic, and that platform goes down, you lose 100% of your traffic. But let's say you have 4 platforms divided over your traffic, that's, 25% that you're missing out on.
Yeah.
It's not a disaster. You can still keep operations running, you can still pay the staff, you can still pay yourself.
Yeah.
But if 100% of the traffic stops and the sales stop as well, you have to fire people, you have to, it's panic basically. And
crazy.
as an entrepreneur, you try to, diversify the risk as well in the end of the day. But yeah, don't get me wrong, like you should not be forced to multi-channel, because some products just make no sense to run on a specific platform,
Yeah.
If you sell, I don't know, whatever, something that's not interested for Pinterest, you shouldn't be doing it.
Like coffee, for example.
Like coffee, like why would you put coffee on Pinterest? Nobody gives a damn on Pinterest. But if you have a specific coffee that's made from specific things and there's a keyword for it, then sure, add Google to it, add Meta for explanation videos, UGC videos about how amazing the coffee is and what makes it special, and so on and so on.
Yeah. Just kind of reverting back into this, like the whole customer journey, like what I say to most people in my calls is quite the same. And they are always asking me, like, so what platforms would you advise me? And I hate to do this, because I hate to decide for people, but I do love to give my advice, of course. I think that personally, this omnichannel whole strategy that's out there, I think it's phenomenal, because these days, it's like, and I'm specifically talking about the modern day, people usually get their ideas from social media and they buy from PPC platforms like Google and Bing, for example. So let's say that I see, I don't know, ad for coffee online, and at that moment I'm like, I didn't even understand this type of coffee was here or this type of skincare was there. I scroll past it because we rarely don't buy anything on Meta, to be honest. And then a week or two later, I'm like, I'm getting these issues, these problems that they highlighted in their ad, and I'm like, I need a solution. And when I need to actually make a purchase decision, usually I go to Google.
Yeah.
That's why I tell these people, like, you should never look at these platforms as an individual. You should always look at them like a family, basically. And the more family members you get in there, the more powerful the whole structure basically becomes, because as you know, we have one client, he is running TikTok ads, and it's the worst platform he is running. It has the worst ROAS of all of the platforms, TikTok.
Which client, bro? What is
the one with the 40K meta debt?
Okay.
But he is so smart.
Yeah.
He is so smart that he understands if he cuts down TikTok, that Meta and Google is going to suffer from it, basically.
Yeah. They're all dependent on each other. The thing is, these are ecosystems, and the more ecosystems you're involved with, the bigger you look as a brand. So Meta is a huge ecosystem. It has Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, partner networks, Messenger. And then Google has a huge ecosystem because it has Google search, shopping, display, YouTube now as well, and then the partner networks as well. So in the eyes of a consumer, you can appear very big. I mean, we have had this as well. When they come into a call with us, like, man, I see this bald guy everywhere. Like his ads are all over the place. I open my Instagram, I see his face. I open Facebook, I see his face. I'm scrolling through Google and I see a display banner of this bald guy.
I go to my emails and see an email from him.
Exactly, right. So, and this is the power of I actually have a campaign that's called propaganda campaign, and that's basically only to retarget people. Yeah. So in their eyes, I'm the guy that's everywhere, but actually it's not. It's just a small pool that I'm continuously targeting and making sure that they see me, and that makes a small brand appear bigger than they are.
Yeah. Literally. And let's say, you know, you go from this small brand, you are multi-channel, let's say it's all working fine, you know, like we've seen some business owners, you know, they're doing very well, or some business owners that came to us as children, they've grown up to become men, you know, especially the one that we've been talking about right now. He literally came in as a kid, you know, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And right now I think he's up there with us, you know, he's like, sometimes he amazes me. When do you think it's time to quit your day job and actually go full-time into e-commerce? Because as you know, we've had many business owners come to us as children, still working their pizzeria or working in their office job or whatever. Yeah. When do you think it's time to actually like pull the plug basically?
Ooh,
and go full in?
Oh man, that really depends on the risk tolerance of a person. It's very a personal thing, to be honest, because some people, they can, or they're in a position to burn the bridges from their job or whatever and go all in. Because I mean, if you're living with your mom, then you don't have much expenses, right? But if you're a grown-up man, you have a spouse, you have 3 children, you have a mortgage, and you have this, I would say, security job that you have, and now you're considering to give that up for the risk you're taking with, let's say, a store or a service that you're selling. You know, that person has way more things to consider than that guy that, you know, goes to his job and then comes back to his mom's house and has the food ready and he doesn't even know who does the groceries. You know what I mean? So it's a personal thing, first of all. And second of all, if, let's say, you're in between, your risk tolerance is not that high, but you're also willing to take some risk. I mean, at the end of the day, you're an entrepreneur, so you should be willing to take some risk. I would say don't burn the bridges right away. Make sure you have something sustainable going. So just because you had one great month doesn't mean it's continuous. Like, it doesn't prove anything. So if you have something going for 2-3 months and it's actual sustainable, and you're not, I would say, it doesn't go well only because all things work out. You know, like sometimes you get a good month, but that's only if all things come together and work out. The moon is aligned and everything, and the summer and the weather is right enough for your product to sell that product. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, that's not sustainable. But if you have something sustainable and you have these, I would say, seasons that you can handle as well, then that's time to
if you're like one push away from falling.
That's not when you should do it.
Yeah,
Stick
exactly.
to that. Stick to that security you have with the job that you're currently working. It doesn't matter what it is, basically.
So yeah, most of these people that do see like, hey, you know, it's working well, I'm gonna dive all into this. You know, what I often see is that they're more, because they're doing it full time. They're looking into things they would have never looked in before. And one of the things I see oftentimes is competition. Because usually, you know, as you know, in our briefing process, one of our main questions are, what are your top 3 competitors?
Yeah.
And of course, some people, they have this big brand, you know, that they've always looked up to, and they're like, oh, I want to become them, you know, and if I would be them, like, how would that be? But a lot of people are like, they don't know, to be honest, until they dive in too much. Until I ask them that question and I circle back with them a week later, they're like, oh, I exactly know who these people are. But the people that really go delve full into it, they start to see these copycats, basically. So how would you avoid becoming a copycat yourself in a copycat brand yourself in like a crowded niche?
Yeah, that's a good question, man. Like, hey, I'm all in for don't reinvent the wheel. And so if you have competitors that you're looking up to and they sell similar products, and you know they run specific ads that's working for them, hey, by all means, take that ad, redo it in your own way, use your own USPs, use your own words to redo that ad, and then run that as an ad. Like, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to sit in a room with your team thinking like, all right, what type of ads should we make, while your direct competitor is already running an ad for, let's say, 140 days straight, and you can see like the ad spend is like 10K on that thing, and like, they would be stupid to run an ad for 140 days if it's not profitable, right? Yeah. So who are you to start reinventing the wheel if you already have this thing that seems to be working for someone else as well? But at the end of the day, you do have to make it unique in your own way. And then at a certain point, in the beginning, especially when you're small, try to look up to these brands and try to replicate them. I think this also, I need to give a small warning here. Let's say you're a clothing brand. Do not compare yourself with Zara or something, right? If you look at their content, it looks like complete shit.
Look at real competitors.
Yeah,
people
like
in your...
just a little bit higher than you. Because if you compare your clothing brand with Zara, they can get away with these, I would say, photo shoot pictures that actually look awful, to be honest, if you ask me.
Shitty
it's like
product pages with no trust, no reviews.
They can get away with that, but you have to do something different.
You don't have a multi-billion-dollar name. So
yes. Like we see this all the time, like, but H&M is doing this. Oh, Zara is doing this. I'm like, dude, you're not Zara. You don't have that name behind you. So you cannot have a copy with one sentence and a hashtag. You know what I mean? Like, you need to have a more compelling headline. You need to have a more compelling hook, because you don't carry the brand Zara with you. You know what I mean? Or it's just an example. Doesn't matter which brand. So try to get a competitor that's just slightly above you. Very, I would say, just kind of the same product, and then go from there.
At the end of the day, you don't want to become too overrated, at the end of the day. So my next question is actually going to be, what are the most overrated marketing strategies? Is it paid? Is it organically? Is it, I don't know, affiliate? What type of marketing strategies that, of course, a lot of these big brands are also using? What do you think is the most overrated one?
Well, first of all, there's a lot of things overrated nowadays, but I think one of the things that just pops in my mind is this, I would say, chase to go viral with one video or something. See a lot of people doing that, trying to do organically, chasing the trend, trying to go viral, and then thinking like, oh, if I go only viral with one video, then everything else will be solved, But I mean, you can see that as well. Like, you can see some pages or accounts that have one actual like post that got 3 million views, and then you go to their account, they have like 2,000 followers, like nothing. So that post will not solve all your problems. So chasing that viral thing that you're looking for is usually overrated and is very time consuming. So if you ask me where to spend your time, don't chase the viral stuff.
All right. Talking about where to spend your time, do you think it's better to focus on customer acquisition or customer retention?
Oh, I love this question. Again, it always comes down to where are you with the business.
Yeah.
In the beginning, hell yeah, customer acquisition. See if you can get a proof of concept for the product that you're trying to sell. Even if you're break even, I would still be happy if I get that. So if I get a new customer in as a break even point as soon as possible, I'm happy, because I know everything I do after that only is going to improve my business. So customer lifetime value, customer experience, customer journey, and so on and so on. So, but if you are looking to build that sustainable business, you're already doing, let's say, 100K, then definitely go into the sustainable path, because acquiring new customers at a certain point, that's going to dry out, and as well, it's getting more expensive along the way. So if you're an established business, try to work on that back end. Try to get your, I would say, cross-sell, upsell products in check. Try to see if you can make gift sets or whatever sets you can offer with the product. Make sure you have a complete email back end as well for the funnel and the journey, from abandonment cart all the way up to VIP flows and customer thank you flows, and so on and so on. So again, depends on where you are in the business.
All right. And what's the biggest mistake then that most, in your eyes, that most entrepreneurs make when they're trying to build, for example, like a loyalty program to really capitalize on this customer retention?
So if you are in the sustainable path and you're trying to build this, I would say, recurring customer base, then loyalty programs make sense. But most people get that wrong, because they only think like, oh, loyalty programs is about acquiring points and spending points and, earning points and spending points, basically. But a loyalty program like that gets very boring very quickly. So you have to kind of make that more interesting for the consumer or your clients or customers. So, I mean, look at Starbucks, how Starbucks does it, right? They have a loyalty program just like any other company, but why is theirs so successful? Because it's very personalized. They have, by the way, first of all, very user-friendly app as well for that. So when you log in, everything is personalized. So if you always order a latte, then you get an offer for a latte, not for an Americano. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's personalized, first of all. Second of all, it's not just earning points, because they also give you free drinks for your birthday. They get you, what else do they do? They get you free drinks for your birthday. They get the special personalized offers.
They just kind of make you feel special.
Yes,
I always...
I forgot. I'm not a Starbucks user, but I kind of read through the case studies as well. It's phenomenal because that app works very well. And by the way, some people, they say that, like the people from Wall Street, they say it's even more genius than just a referral program because they say, like, most people put money on their Starbucks card, on a Starbucks app. So think of it this way, how Starbucks gets more out of this than just giving free drinks. Imagine you have like millions of people around the world using your product and using your app, and they all put like $5 or $10 into that account.
Yeah.
That account is basically money for you to use on your business.
Like they're a bank.
It's a bank. They use it as a bank. So they can use that amount to get interest, or they can use that amount to invest back in their business.
Screw the stock market, just make your
I mean, it's genius. But yeah, anyway, loyalty programs, that's what we were talking about.
I always tell people in my calls, because especially if we're looking at, for example, a VIP flow for your email list, when a customer buys for the second or third time, in this world where authenticity is valued, very high, making the customer feel special and making them kind of feel like a brand ambassador almost can really trigger them to keep coming back and stay loyal to you because you're staying loyal to them. And this is kind of how humans work. If you give something to me for free or you give me something, I feel obligated to give you something back. Otherwise, I would feel bad, basically. So
usually, yes.
That's what I tell most people, and that's with Starbucks. It's so personalized. They make the customer feel so special. It's the birthday, the points, the free drinks, the exact drinks that they like.
Free refills, but they also do special events. I mean, most of the companies that do these loyalty programs well, they also have special events. So let's say in this case, forget Starbucks. Let's go to a more average business like a clothing brand or something. Yeah. Like you can have a pre-launch something for your catalog. So let's say you're introducing a new collection. You can have your VIP customers see the collection first and then show it to the public. We have a few clients that actually do that with Black Friday, which is coming up in a week. What they do is they shut down the website for 24 hours. They send an email to their VIP flow like, hey guys, we're shutting down the website for 24 hours. This is the link, the password you use to get into the website and do the purchases before we start running ads and getting out of stock. You know what I mean? So that's like, if you get that email, you're buying from that brand all the time and you're like, hey, I get 24 hours the chance to buy everything before the Black Friday crazy traffic starts going in, and I get a chance my size gets sold out or anything. Like that email last year did phenomenal. This year we're expecting to even do better with that. So, but that's one strategy you can use to make your customers feel more special as well. Yeah,
and also just like we're talking about email marketing right now, but like we've totally forgotten about ads. Like the personalized retargeting ads.
Oh yeah.
I think a lot of people will be like, oh, how do I get that exact blue pants, or how do I get that perfect green T-shirt? It's because at the end of the day, like Meta has the tools to do this. Is the advertiser behind the Meta dashboard smart enough to use these tools in the right way and make sure you're seeing that exact item that you so much desire, basically.
Yeah, I mean, you have the pixel data, so you could do it. Like with Meta, you have your
that's
catalog.
What I mean. Meta has the tools, but like what I see oftentimes is that when I look in, because when I'm on calls, I look into a lot of ad accounts, as you know. Man, it's like they've got a bazooka and they're using like a small pistol or knife, basically.
So it's too generic. It's not personalized.
Yeah, exactly, man. So kind of delving off of the customer loyalty program, because we are nearing the end here. I'm going to start with the question that got asked the most. Basically, I saw that this question, I'm actually going to look it up real quick because I need to find it. Here it is. This question was highest on the list. That's why I saved the best for last. So Togar, would you say it's better to have a niche product or like a niche product store or a general store approach?
Yeah, the amount of times I've heard this question in my own calls, it's if I would get $1 for that. Oh man, it's kind of always the same answer, and it's not as black as white as you might think. So they both have their perks. I would personally lean more to the niche because then at that stage you can become an expert at something, like a specialized place to go for that specific service or product. I mean, agency, let's take the agency space in general, right? It's very broad. You can do anything with agency, chiropractors, dentists, whatever. We chose deliberately leads and e-commerce.
Which is the hardest.
Which is the hardest, yes, for sure. But we chose that because, whatever reason, doesn't matter.
Our background,
Our background as well. But, beside that, because we chose that, everyone that has an e-commerce store thinks of us. But if we were marketing ourselves as the dentist guru, or the chiropractor guru, then we wouldn't be taking that serious when it comes to e-commerce.
No.
And you're kind of spreading yourself too thin there.
Yeah.
And also operational wise, it gets down. But now I'm talking about services. So let's run back to products in this case. Let's take a few brands that we manage that are specialized. We have glamping, we have wheels.
Oh, yes.
And these products, let's say we have a wheel store, right? They sell all these kinds of wheels for all the cars, Tesla, Jaguars, Range Rovers, and so on and so on.
Spices as well.
Everything. Spices we have as well, very, very niche as well. But let's take the wheels ones. It's an easy one. If they would sell car paint, car whatever cleaners and car mats and all car chairs and all those type of stuff, they would make the brand less, niche and less specialized. Now, if you go on the store, alright, I'm gonna get my wheels, and I can either get it with what's it called, the tires with it, or just the wheels. That's the only two options I have. Either I buy the tires separately, or I get the wheels by themselves. But if you land on a page like that and you see this company has I don't know how many wheels, 5,000 different wheels they have, different sizes, different inches, and so on and so on. You feel like you're in the right place because you went to look for wheels. You're in this place where it only sells wheels. Your car is in there. You have a configurator. It tells you in the beginning of the website what type of car you have, and it tells you exactly which wheel you need. It's very niche. It's very specialized.
So you convert higher, basically.
You convert way higher.
But at the end of the day, you do limit yourself, is what you're saying.
Yes, you do limit yourself, but if you have a chance to become the best at something, take it, man.
Yeah. So it kind of has their own ups and downs,
Yeah, that's, as I said, not black and white. If you're, and by the way, we're talking about brands here. If you're dropshipping, sure, by all means, go with a general store, sell whatever crap you can find, see what one takes off, and then go from there. Just throw it all in the air, see which one sticks. But if you're actually building a sustainable brand from day one, then I highly recommend going.
And if you're want a strategy and everything, the strategies are different, for niche and for general, because your strategy can be much broader with general, and it's way more complex with niche because you do limit yourself a lot, and especially with us, we chose, let's take our perspective, for example. We chose to go into e-commerce. Why? You started e-commerce 2018. I started e-commerce basically when I was a grown adult. We've been in this business so long, and I would say it only makes sense if you're really an expert in your field. If you really understand your game that much, because that's the way you can leverage a niche approach. If you don't, go general, because then you can leverage the freedom you got from a general store. But if you have so much knowledge and so much expertise in this one specific niche, then I would personally advise just go full niche, man.
Yeah, don't worry to pivot either. I mean, you could start, let's say with a clothing brand, you can sell male and female fashion, right? Together in one store. But if you see 80% of your sales are coming from the female clothings and 20% is only male, and that stock is sitting there and laying there and it's not getting sold, the ads are not profitable, maybe you need to pivot, Switch to the female only, go more in on that. It gives you way more room in your warehouse. It gives you way more chances to grow. Just expand on that female because that's working for you.
But I would say that that's more a niche within a niche. that's not really going from niche to general.
So again, okay, with a clothing, let's say fashion store, right? You can sell all types of fashion, and then you can go into streetwear for women and men, or you can go to streetwear for only men, for example. So it goes further and further, and then you can go streetwear for men age 18 to 40, for example. You can go as far as you can. I wouldn't go too far to limit yourself completely. Just continue going until you see ROAS declining. That's when, like, okay,
just go with the flow, go with the numbers, the data.
Look at the data,
wherever it kind of is.
And this is what I mean. Like, most people, they get too personally attached with their ideas, their business ideas, or their creatives, or something like, oh, I chose this, so it has to work. Sometimes you just have to look at it from a third perspective and say, like, what's the data telling me? You know, I could be sitting here, half my warehouse filled with men clothes, but I'm not selling anything. So it's taking space. I can't scale. It's basically money laying there as a stock. Why not do a sale, get rid of it, and continue with female fashion only?
Yeah, no, I think that's very interesting. I think this topic, man, we could talk about it for hours, but I do think we have reached the plateau of today's episode. Like I said, it was the last.
I like this, man. We should do this again, like with these questions and stuff. It's actually interesting because it's much quicker. It's not Joe Rogan style. We're not talking about all this random stuff.
Getting to the important stuff.
Yeah, I mean, they're asked for a reason, so people are curious to know. So for us, it's much easier to answer them this way as well. All right, guys, thank you for watching, and I guess keep those questions coming in. I want to do another one if you want to do another one. So yeah, keep these questions coming in, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.